Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another round of Mind Your Fucking Business with your host, Jeffrey Krentzman.
Thank you, Dougie Sticks. A little bit delayed, intro there. I like that. A little suspense building. There you go. I wasn't sure if you were awake. I was about to get worried there for a minute. From the beautiful studios of Undefeated Media here in Bergen County, New Jersey, this is the Mind Your Fucking Business podcast brought to you by our good friends at the Bamboozle Project. We thank them for their sponsorship. As always, you can go check out thebamboozleproject.com. And use promo code MYPB. Save yourself 20% across the site. And we promote the hats a lot on the site. But as we are now in February, meaning spring isn't too far around the corner, there is some spring gear, summer gear as well on that site if you want. We thank DraftKings as well for helping us with the show. This is episode 141, 141. If you're tuning in on the Spanish dial, we appreciate you tuning in today. You can send us your questions at any time to mypbshow@gmail.com, or you can also DM us on the Instagram platform, as you guys do all the time, and that is at Mind Your Fucking Business. You can tune into the show live on YouTube and Instagram. You want
and Facebook, yes,
and Facebook. I forgot that the third one. So the new one being Instagram. So if you follow us on Instagram,
which is right there,
yes, exactly.
That's why I wanted to pause you for a second, because this right here,
these
people can watch.
Correct. These people can watch this. And if you can't watch live because maybe you have an obligation on Tuesday mornings, you can always go back on any of those platforms and watch it on replay, or you can stream the show at your liking on Spotify or iTunes.
Absolutely.
And if you go to any sporting event around the country, around the world, use promo code MYPB at SeatGeek, and you can save yourself $20 off your order just for entering that stuff.
Just giving away money.
And we're giving away money tonight. Actually, you didn't even know this. I was telling B-Rock before the show. If you go on to the Mind Your Fucking Business Instagram page tonight, we are announcing a Super Bowl contest that is free to enter, and we are giving away prizes. There's no reason to not enter. We'll leave it at that.
No reason to not enter.
Yes, and so that is something that we can do tonight. So, all right. Let's get it started here. And before we do so, let me just say one thing. I appreciate the patience last week. I was away for work. I was overseas for a day and a half. So we were not on last week, and it kind of coincided well with the break. Like, I didn't really know what we were going to talk about because the Rangers were on break. But the Rangers came back last night. And before we get to that, let's talk about some news that happened before the break since we've been on last, which is not good news at all. And that is Filipino. Filipino was progressing completely towards coming back. He'd gone back to skating. I believe, if I wasn't mistaken, on the Friday where this all happened, he was almost kind of designated in a different colored jersey, meaning that he was going to be close to coming back. And I don't want to say it was imminent, but it would have been after the All-Star break hiatus thing that they had. And I guess towards the end of practice last Friday, and they were skating at Madison Square Garden. It was not a practice at the practice facility in Westchester, but it was up in it was at MSG because they had a game that night. Filipino just kind of went down, and from everything that came out, was not contact related, so that's really not a good sign. And the Rangers then came out a day or two later and said what we all kind of thought was going to be the case. Wasn't really a surprise, so they kind of confirmed the obvious, I guess would be a better way of putting it, which is that Filipino will be out the rest of the year. So, go ahead. Were you going to say something?
I just said,
yeah. So a very, very difficult break for the Rangers, who were trying here to get Filipino back. Now, I don't know. I don't think you would go into next year, if it were me, thinking that he's going to be back. Like, I look at Filipino now, and I hate to say this, he's 22 or 23. He's been through, I think this is a third or fourth concussion. So you almost have to look at it now and say this: whatever I can get at any point in the career in the future of him that he has is an added bonus, because these people, I mean, everyone knows this. I've never seen it said anywhere else, but everyone kind of knows that, like, you have a life after hockey. You're a professional athlete. You have a very short window of playing whatever professional sport you're playing. And usually by the age of 35, you're at a point where you're not playing anymore and you're done. And you've got hopefully 60, 70 years or something like that left to live of your life. And the quality of life is important. When Filipino has now had 4 concussions in a matter of couple years, a few years here, I don't know if he's going to play again. And as a Ranger fan, we had taped, well, I shouldn't say as a Ranger fan, we had taped 2 weeks ago about Filipino coming back. And we were about to run a clip B-Rock, clipped it together. And it was like, when Filipino comes back this season, do you trust that he's going to be there long-term because of his track record? And then he went down in practice. So we wish Filipino the best, but I think as Ranger fans, like you're almost at a point where you can't even expect your first round draft pick, which is what he was. I think he was picked 21 to ever play again. I mean, it's a realistic possibility. And then someone's saying on Instagram, Brent, and I appreciate you writing that in, that's not really safe for him to play again. I mean, and it very well might not be. So we shall see about it. Unique Creations on the Instagram platform now writing, I hate to see it, but he shouldn't play again. He's got to worry about his health first and always. Absolutely. That's got to be the priority of what you have. So since we've been on, which was 2 weeks ago, the Rangers played a really frustrating game in San Jose 2 weeks ago tonight. They lost in overtime. Now, what drove me nuts about this game was people complaining that and I forgot what player it was on San Jose on the game-winning goal kind of set a moving pick, and it should have been called, and the goal shouldn't count. How about this? How about you have a 2-goal lead? You have a 2-goal lead going into the third period versus the worst team in the NHL. How about you not even go to overtime? How about that? So I don't care about the play. They got what they deserved. If you blow a 2-goal lead to the worst team in the league, guess what? You deserve it. You do. And so that was frustrating. They lost. They lost in overtime. I'm not even going to get into whether it was a penalty or not because I don't even care to discuss it because it should have never even been in that situation. The Rangers came home and played a terrible game Friday night versus Vegas. And I want to put this Ottawa game under the microscope for a minute. So you've lost to Vegas the night before. You go up, you fly back-to-back. You play in Ottawa Saturday night, and this is your last game before a 9-day break. So the players mentally, you have to kind of respect this, that like they might be checked out, right? They have one leg on the plane wherever they go in the Caribbean or Mexico, wherever it may be, and they're checked out. And the Rangers go down in this game early in the second period 2-0. That is the perfect time for the Rangers to just pack it in, right? And I'm watching this game last Saturday night, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, they are really going into the break at, I don't want to say rock bottom, but like, they're really not playing well. And the Rangers score 5 in the second period and end up coming back to win the game. And I posted, I don't know if you saw this because I don't normally do these kinds of things, but I felt in the moment it was the right thing to do. And I posted about how, if the Rangers amount to anything this season, and no one knows if they will. I mean, if we all knew the answer to the $1 million question, we would be happy about it, but we don't know the answer. But if they do, a turning point moment where Ranger fans look a year ago and they say, they were playing so bad in the beginning of December. Chicago was terrible. They came in here on a Saturday night and ran the Rangers out of the building, and Jacob Trouba threw his helmet at the boards as he was leaving the game. That was the moment it turned around. The Connor McKay fight against Brady Tkachuk will be the turning point moment because that fight happened early in the second period. They turned it around. So you hope that, and I appreciate Nikolai for saying that, that Ottawa was a statement win, and you're right. That was a statement win, provided they go on and do something the rest of the way. If they don't, well, then the win last week is a nice win, but it's not a statement. It doesn't mean a lot. But so you hope for that. Now, last night they come back and they play Colorado. Now, I missed the first period because I had a hockey game myself at 6:45. I came home and I thought it was a pretty evenly played game. I will say this before we get into the Lafreniere goal. And yes, I am wearing the Lafreniere shirt today on purpose. Alexi played the goal song. That was intentionally done because of last night. So you are right. Those of you who are writing that. I want to say there was like 2 minutes left in the game. There was a shift where, and I think McKinnon was on, that Colorado was kind of cycling the puck in the Rangers defensive end. Why? Can someone explain to me why is Blake Wheeler on the ice in that moment? There was a play around the boards, and literally it actually was in front of the Rangers bench because they go that way in the third period. And Blake Wheeler just failed to get the puck out, and Jonathan Quick bailed him out with a point blank save. Because if he doesn't, that is a 2-1 loss. Now, last night, obviously, everyone knows what happens. Alexi Lafreniere wins the game in overtime. It's funny about Alexi Lafreniere. I want to say something, and I like Alexi Lafreniere. I'm wearing the shirt and all that stuff. You don't hear anything about him for like a week or two, and he does something like last night, and the amount of people that post, it's the year of laugh, they finally playing the kids, he's finally come along. It's like, I get it, and he's had a good year, but like we always need that like pushing point to kind of happen with it. So a good win for them last night. versus what is a really good Colorado team. If you look in Vegas and you see who is the favorite right now to win the MVP, it is not Artemi Panarin. And I don't say Artemi, I say Artemi for a reason. It is Nathan MacKinnon. Nathan MacKinnon is like plus 115 to win the MVP of the league. That's who you beat last night. So it was a good win. Gorgiev, who Ranger fans know well, and you know that Alexander Gorgiev gets fired up to come back to the Garden and play the Rangers. So that wasn't a surprise of any stature that he would play well last night until Lafreniere gets the game winner in overtime. So now they go on and they play Tampa tomorrow night, and then they go out to Chicago on Friday night, and they will play at home. They're actually off on the weekend because they're in Chicago on Friday night, and then they're home against Calgary. So hopefully it's a building point last night. I do not get into the All-Star games at all. I don't watch. I don't care. In 1994, true story, the year the Rangers won the Cup, before they won the Cup, which was June 14th, in January, the NHL hosted the All-Star game at Madison Square Garden, which was the last time the NHL All-Star game was there. I was there for that. I remember that. I got into it. It was East-West. Mike Richter won the MVP, and he won a car on the ice. I don't know if you know that story. He won, I want to say it was a Jeep. I might be wrong. But he won a Jeep and all that stuff. But I don't right now get into the All-Star game. But I will tell you one thing that comes out of it if you are a Ranger fan that you want to pay attention to. Igor Shesterkin played really well in the All-Star game to the point where, again, I didn't watch it. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And if I'm right, I don't deserve credit at all for being right. But a lot of people were writing in that I guess whoever was doing the announcing on TV, which I guess I'm trying to think of who the number one crew, because Eddie Olczyk isn't, I don't even know who it is now. I'm drawing a blank. Was saying that Igor was playing so well that hopefully it would be a boost for him. They said on the broadcast, and Ranger fans could hopefully huddle around that. So we shall see if it is. Igor did not start last night, which I thought was bizarre, if I'm being honest, but it ended up working out because Quick was very good.
So the All-Star game, the winner of the All-Star game, do they get anything? Home field ice?
No, that's not like baseball gets home field advantage. That's why. Is that why you did that?
No. Yes.
Okay.
No, but seriously, my point is the All-Star game is not what
it's not
meaningful in any sport.
No, they have like
sport. We play that's flag football, basketball. They don't even try anymore.
No,
baseball is just amazing to watch.
No, and I'll give you an example. So the team that the two Ranger All-Star representatives, which was Vincent Trocheck and Igor Shesterkin, are on a team that was drafted by Justin Bieber. So how serious can you take it? I mean, you can't take it that seriously.
And they don't play like the Jordan era of All-Star games were great to watch. I'm sure the Wayne Gretzky era of hockey All-Star games were great to watch.
I'm sure they were, but they're not now. And they do 3-on-3, which I like, but I don't take it. And Antoinette, thank you for writing in. The skills competition was great. If I was actually going to watch anything, I would actually watch the skills competition. We could put Antoinette's comment up at the bottom. I would actually be more into the skills competition, but I believe it was Friday night, and I actually had a hockey game, and my son had a game, so I didn't watch it. I'm not saying that I would have anyway. Bieber skates better than Wheeler, by the way. Yes, that is absolutely correct, Nikolai. I like that. That will be the comment of episode number 141 for sure. And Brent writing in on Instagram, Bieber looked like an absolute clown. He did. And I saw some highlights. Someone posted on Instagram like a clip. I don't remember who it was of Bieber like out skating, taking pucks, and just like I don't know. Justin Bieber to me, again, not getting off. Well, I am getting off topic. Before I had kids, right, we used to have neighbors across the street from where we lived, and she was a single mom, and she had like an 8-year-old boy and a 7-year-old girl, something like that. Where
you lived across the street from the Biebers?
No. And this was like the height of Justin Bieber, right? This was like 2009, and we would go out. We would be nice neighbors because we didn't have kids at the time, and we would get like Justin Bieber posters or stickers if we saw him in the store for her. But now it's like 15 years later, and the dude is still around coaching All-Star games. Most of these people like him are like one-hit wonders. They're around for a couple years, they disappear. This dude is now 15 years, and he's taking slap shots with Vincent Trocheck. I don't understand. What am I missing? What am I missing? So anyway, all right. So here's our big Ranger thing for the day. And we have a lot of people commenting, so definitely look forward to your comments here. the trade deadline is coming up, and the trade deadline is in 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take a stance here that people may not agree with, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
We can debate it because it has been certainly out there amongst many beat writers. And so if you hear something from like 1 or 2 beat writers, you believe it's true.
Mm-hmm.
If you hear it from 5 or 10, you kind of know it's true because if all of their sources are saying it, and it's not a surprise that Chris Drury is trying to be active here, trying to do something. Word came out this weekend from Toronto that he was not trying, but he's inquired multiple times about Frank Vetrano, who Ranger fans are certainly familiar with because he was traded to the Rangers from Florida a couple years ago, was a rental, then went to Anaheim. And one thing I'll say about Frank Vetrano, because I got into this with someone the other day, when the Rangers traded for Frank Vetrano, and I believe it was for a 4th-round pick, if memory serves me right, no one knew who Frank Vetrano was. Let's not sit here and pretend like Chris Drury was able to find a guy that was underutilized in Florida, came here, did well, earned himself another contract. The Rangers didn't want to pay that money, which was understandable at the time, and he went to Anaheim, and now they're trying to get him back. But here's the question. You ready?
Yes.
I'm going to take my sip of my iced tea before we do this.
I'm ready.
Here we go.
Yes.
If you are going to take the mindset or the argument that the Rangers should be buyers in this market, okay, that you have a legitimate chance to win the Stanley Cup in June of 2024, which is fair. I think you could make that argument. Okay. I get it, okay? That's fine. But here's my question to you. Okay. How much of a buyer are you really, though? Like, what are you willing to give up? So
exactly. You might be a buyer, but are you willing to sell anything?
Well, and what are you trying to sell? Like last week, so Lindholm was in Calgary, and he was a name that was linked to going to the Rangers. Okay. Vancouver last week. So I was overseas when I got this text that, oh, yeah, well, the Rangers thankfully are not getting Lindholm because someone didn't want him. Vancouver got him. And you look at the price that Vancouver paid to get what is a rental, right? He's not signed beyond this year. And you look at what that price was to get a rental, and you say to yourself, you know what? If I wanted Lindholm or I didn't want Lindholm, I'm happy they didn't get him because I wouldn't want Chris Drury to pay that price. Okay. So that's part one of it. The other thing is this. Well, Sean Monahan now, another one is, rumored to, I think he was officially sent to Winnipeg. So he's off the table. If you are the Rangers and you're Chris Drury and you're sitting here and you're saying, how many chips do I want to put into the pot for 2024? I've got a goalie, and I'm going to say it because it's just true. He's not playing at the top of his game this year. Does that mean any of us would be surprised if he turned around and all of a sudden in June, April in the first round turned it on and was the Igor we know and love? You wouldn't be surprised at it, right? You wouldn't look at it and be like, wow, I'm shocked. But I don't know that you're going to sit there and bank on that with what you've seen. You have a top line of Zibanejad and Kreider and whoever you want to put on the right wing, whether it's Kabo or Wheeler, who is doing nothing at 5-on-5, literally nothing. Last night, I watched the third period, and I was specifically watching the top line shifts. And if I'm not mistaken, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, there was, I believe, one shot, and it was basically an unobstructed Chris Kreider wrist shot into Alexander Gorgiev's chest, which is not a high-quality chance. So I've got a top line that is doing nothing. I've got a goalie that's not on the top of his game. And defensively, now last night they were better, but defensively, they have been a complete and utter mess. K'Andre Miller, who I am a fan of, I like K'Andre Miller, is probably at the top of that list. And if you look at some of the statistical data, which is showing you the quality of chances that the defense is letting up, that Igor or Jonathan Quick, who's ever in net on a given night, has to face, is really high. So I can go out and I can make a move to try and better things, but that doesn't guarantee that my goalie's going to get fixed. I'm probably not trading for someone on my top line to help the top line that's doing nothing. Because if I am, and maybe that's Frank Vetrano, I'm then giving up a lot, and I've got to give up something to get something. And I don't think that there's anything I'm going to get that's going to shore up this defense.
I think giving up anything right now is a terrible idea, and this is probably the perfect time to have your little slump. Like have your like you say all the time, you're not it's peaks and valleys, right?
So Chris brings up a good point on the last comment, which is what did the top line that is actually the second line do last night? Shut down one of the best lines in hockey. He's right. McKinnon didn't do a lot in that line. I get it, but I need my top line consistently to score.
Yeah.
We can take last night as one game. They're not scoring. They're not generating anything at 5-on-5. If you watch the game, the Vegas game 2 weeks ago, and even the Ottawa game to an extent, the offense didn't come from the top line. It really didn't. So I don't know if I'm Chris Drury, how much I'm sitting here and willing to just go all in for this right now. The other thing is in what you get back, right? Whatever you're going to get back cannot be a rental. You need someone that's signed beyond the year. This is not a year ago. And we were fine with this when it happened. So hindsight's 2020. But this is not a year ago where you're going to get a Vladimir Tarasenko who's not signed beyond this year. You're going to get a Patrick Kane who's not signed beyond this year. You cannot do that right now. Yeah. This team, what you have seen in the last 6 or 7, 8 weeks, is not worth doing that.
Yeah. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. The only case that you would want a rental is if like someone really important got hurt and you needed to replace that missing piece, like a left wing or a center that like you needed one for the playoffs, like to make a run.
The other thing to me is this, right? If you like, I don't know, if you look at it, it probably is all the whole thing. And I'm not saying anything here that's like, I don't know, people don't know, but I don't, it all comes down to how Igor plays in the spring, right? You're not going to rely on Jonathan Quick to do this for 2 months in the spring. I mean, it's just probably realistically not going to happen. Okay, so it's probably, and goaltending always wins Stanley Cups. Aiden Hill last year in Vegas, like you can sit there and always think that the year you're in is the year that the recipe changes and it's not the top line. It is the top line. I mean, that it is the goalie. It is always the goalie. And if Igor isn't Igor, and I don't know that I would sit here and bet a lot of money that he's going to be with what I've seen so far this year. I don't know that I sit there and put a ton of stuff into it. I really don't. I'm not like.
Are you hitting the panic button?
No, I'm not hitting the panic button at all. But I'm just saying that, like, I mean, could they win the Stanley Cup? Of course. They could. Look, in a 7-game series, if the Rangers played like they played in the beginning of the season, they will beat anyone in the Eastern Conference. I don't care if it's Carolina. I don't care if it's Boston. I don't care if it's Florida. I don't care if it's Toronto. If they play like they played in the beginning of the season, they will win. If they play like they played in the last 2 months, maybe you can win a series here and there, but you're not getting the 16 wins, which is what you need to get the Stanley Cup. And as people are now saying on the Instagram chat, too much comfortable hockey being played. That's right. They are. They've gotten to an extent complacent in their play.
Too much success too quick.
Well, the other thing I want to bring up is Kako, because here's a name that is constantly in the past 2 weeks being named. Kako is going to go to Calgary. Kako is going to go to Anaheim for Toronto. Like, this is the most popular question I've gotten in the last 2 weeks. What do you think of the Rangers giving up Kako? And I'm going to answer it honestly, and I'll tell you this. I'm torn. Because I remember a video when he was drafted second overall in 2019. He landed from Europe. He was in Europe somewhere. And he was in Europe and he went to Newark Airport. He landed at Newark Airport. Okay. And he landed there. And when he landed there, he basically came down in the baggage claim in Newark Airport. And there must have been on Twitter or something. Someone had posted Kako is on this flight. And he came down. There's a video of it online, I'm sure, because I used to see it all the time. He came down the escalator in Terminal B with his, bag or whatever. And there were Ranger fans waiting in the airport for him because the hype around this guy was so good. There was the video when the Rangers sent, this is a great goal to watch. Before that season in 2019, I believe it's called the Traverse City Tournament, where the Rangers send their young kids every year to Michigan in September. There was a goal he scored where he literally looked like he was a professional hockey player playing in a high school hockey game, where he scored a goal where he just kept cycling around with the puck until he wanted to shoot and shot it in. And you thought you had the next coming of Moses, which is what everybody thought, which is what we were billed that we were also getting. So the talent is there. However, it has now been 4 years, and I'm not seeing that, right? The stats are not showing that. So you look at it, and here's your question. Do I give up on Capo Caco? And it would be typical Rangers that he goes elsewhere and now scores 50 goals next year and 35 assists and he breaks out and the Rangers gave him up. Or do you sit there and you take the approach and say, like Kratzov almost a year ago, he's never going to develop more than he is. His value is never going to be higher than it is on today, because as time goes on, it's only going to go down as other general managers around the league see that. And do you give him up? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. You think he's hurt? Like, what's going on?
I don't think he's hurt, but his
soul is hurt.
I don't know if it's his soul is hurt, but I think there are certainly issues that you would have to think with Cabo Caco. Like if they traded Caco, I don't think I would. So my answer is this. I guess I'm dancing around it. Caco for Willie Nylander. Someone wrote in on Instagram. I would do that trade in a minute. So Caco is a depreciating asset. Well said on the chat there. And if he's a depreciating asset, then again, it's depreciating over time. There's no time where you have more value than now. I guess I wouldn't be upset if they traded Capo Caco, but it's not my first choice of someone to move. I don't know who I would want to move either, because you have to get rid of someone or something that is not going to, you're not going to trade for something that better your chances this year, but then give away something that was helping your chances this year.
I mean, we said it like the last 2 episodes. Wasn't his line the best defending line? Or he had like the best defending.
He's been good defensively. Yes. And so very good. I'm impressed that you know that. And you said that because you pay attention. You have to, because you're here every week. But if I'm Capo Caco, if my role is that I'm a good defensive forward, then I'm trading him today, because that's not a 50-point score.
But that's the mesh of that line. So you're removing that and messing with the juju of that line.
But that line is doing nothing. That line is better with Caco on the right than Wheeler, but still overall that line is nothing. So can we put up the From the Basement chat, which is the bottom one? Assuming no other teams will give him a better offer, having Caco as a long-term fourth line staple doesn't sound too bad. And that's fine, but we all have this impression that he's more than a fourth line staple, because again, waiting at Newark Airport. And look, you should put that, if someone's complimenting you and your hockey knowledge, it needs to be said. So thank you, Antoinette, for saying that. Doug will sleep very well tonight. Whether his daughter lets him sleep well tonight is another question, but he will sleep very well. So I don't know. Like, do you sit there and take Capo? I don't know.
I don't think you can mess with much. Look, you're having a slump right now. Okay. But you had a great beginning of the season. And right now is probably the best time to like take a step back, figure things out, and then hit the playoffs, full steam ahead. You said it all the time. Like, you can't have a perfect season. Look what got what was it, Boston last year?
Correct.
So look, I'm not slump like a man.
I don't want to sit here and say, and by the way, the Rangers needed the break. Like they I understand, like, it's annoying. B-Rock and I were talking coming in here today in the studio before you got here that, like, man, it sucks to not have hockey for a week at night, and it does, but like the Rangers needed the break. They needed to get away. But it's just, to me, and I'm not down on their Stanley Cup chances. I mean, look where they are in the standings. I'm not, and they have talent. Obviously, look at the year Panarin's having, Trocheck. But it's probably at the end of the day coming down to Igor. And as Nikolai says, no matter what happens with Caco, the decision that the Rangers will make will be the wrong one. It's just how the Rangers work. Always is. If the Rangers should trade him, meaning that he is a depreciating asset, they will hold on to him. No, they will hold on to him, and they will sign him to a 3 or 4 year deal. If it should be that they hold on to him, he'll go to wherever he goes. Calgary, he will be a bona fide all-star next year. You can make that bet in Vegas, because that's how the Ranger system works, especially with young players. So I don't know. Like, do you sit here? I guess my overall point is this. I don't know that I would sit here and if I'm Chris Drury, I'm throwing a lot at this team. I'm not looking at it like this is my best chance. I'm going all in. I'm putting all my poker chips in, and I'm getting rentals back and all that stuff. And it bothers me. And I know why they didn't sign Frank Toronto, because the contract wouldn't have fit here, and he did get a lot from Anaheim and Pat Verbeek out there. Mm-hmm. But it bothers me just in principle that they traded for this guy for a 4th round pick 2 years ago, and now I've got to trade for him again. Mm-hmm. Like, he was here and they let him go. Yeah. again, I understand. I'm not saying they should have resigned him. It's just the principle that they had him, and now they've got to do it again. That's what bothers me with Frank Vetrano. But he might be a very good fit on that top line. I don't know. And now with Hedl coming back, as Molly Walker said a couple weeks ago, their number one priority has to be a center, right? So you also need a center. Vetrano's not a center. I mean, you think like normally teams like the Rangers make a move and they get some defenseman you never heard of, and he's like he's your sixth defenseman and he plays in and out some games. Again, I understand, and Chris is going to go crazy on me because he's watching. Zack Jones, I still remain is not an NHL defenseman. So if that guy is in my lineup going into the playoffs in April, God willing they make the playoffs, I don't want him. And if you think, I'll take a question from Instagram. If you think the team is bad at 5-on-5 now, imagine taking Kabo out of the equation. Correct. That unless what you got to spark that first line at 5-on-5 was someone like Vetrano and someone that actually worked with the line. But that's right. And there we go. Another comment. I'll put it's an Instagram comment. So I'm going to say because we can't put it on the screen. And that is, I couldn't agree more about Jones. Zack Jones. Zack Jones is not an NHL defenseman. He's a nice guy. I met him with my kids a couple months ago. He's a great guy. I have pictures. And getting Vetrano again is like reacquiring Mott again, expecting a different outcome. I'm not sure I love Vetrano. I mean, Vetrano worked here, but like you're now asking him to be in a different role. Like if you put him on the top line, that's not what he was here, what he was really asked to do. I know he ended up getting put in that role, but that wasn't what they brought him in to do initially from Florida. So, all right. So trade Igor for Askarov. Yeah. All right on that one. So the Rangers now, like I said, they play tomorrow night versus Tampa. Tampa is not Tampa of old, but you know that when the Rangers play Tampa, Tampa gets up for it and they'll play well. Like you just know it. So Tampa will be tough tomorrow night. They go out to Chicago on Friday, back home Monday night against Calgary. I am debating getting tickets on Monday for Calgary at the Calgary game. It's on my potential radar. I haven't been in a while. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe of getting it. Jeff also said, you want to throw me under the bus. That's fine. The bottom one. Jeff also said that this was the year. This was not the year of Laugh. It was the year of Kako. So I was wrong on it being the year of Kako, but even though I'm wearing the Lafreniere shirt today, I'm not sure I'm like saying it's definitely the year of Lafreniere. So, and Antoinette, nice to see you're going on Monday to the Garden. If I'm going, I will let you know. So that is where we are with the Rangers. There was a comment. Can we put it on if you scroll up towards the beginning that people were celebrating that this was our last week covering football, so we don't have to do it anymore. We can do more hockey. If you want to
shift gears to baseball, right?
Yeah, exactly. We got a complaint. I'll bring this up because this is where you what you're going to. Someone complained. I'm not going to mention names. It's not someone that's writing in today, but it's someone that
obviously they don't watch, so you could say
no.
names.
They watch. I'm going to tell you the story. I was overseas last week. Now, I like constructive criticism because if there's things we can do better that like people like, I'm all for it, right?
Yeah.
I got a very direct DM last week when I was in London. And it was, I don't understand how you bill yourself as a Ranger podcast when you're constantly talking about baseball. We have never spoken about baseball once in 141 episodes. Yeah. I used to have Yankee tickets. My wife and I would go before we had kids, and you had time for a sport that had 162 games. I barely watch, if at all. I could turn on the TV and they're in the bottom of the ninth, tied at 4, and I'm still not paying attention. We do not talk about baseball here. So I don't know if that was meant to be a joke because it came up again later in the week with the same individual. We do not talk baseball. And for those who are happy that football is ending this week, you'll be happy because next week we can recap the Super Bowl real quick. And then we are full on hockey, full throttle. And we're going to have to start covering more like, the Eastern Conference and the other conference out west as we approach the playoffs. So Laffy is a better 5-on-5 player than Kako. I would agree with that for sure. All right. Super Bowl 58 this weekend in Las Vegas. If you're looking for a good offer for the Super Bowl 58, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered. New customers can bet on the big game and turn $5 into $200 instantly in bonus bets. Think about that. You turn $5 into $200. Right now, the spread is currently the Chiefs at +2. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code THPN. New customers can bet $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 58 with code THPN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problems gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly.
Yeah, buddy.
So we are announcing a contest for those that are still here. And there's a lot of you that are still here that said you were going to leave when we went to football. It will be out tonight on Instagram. We're giving away 4 Amazon gift cards.
Wow.
You can enter this for free. You'll see it'll be on our Instagram page tonight. The first 4 people that give the correct, and it's not easy to do. So we're not just giving away money like we're going to pick a name out of a hat like some of these ticket things we've done. But you have to get the Super Bowl winner right with the correct score. And the first 4 people that do so will each win a $25 Amazon gift card.
Wow.
You might as well take a chance. Can't lose anything,
Yeah.
right? So what are the odds Kelsey becomes Mr. Swift after the game? I like that. We don't usually get a lot of football questions, but I do not get into. All right. So the Super Bowl this weekend in Las Vegas, you have the San Francisco 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs. The spread on the game is +2 Kansas City. Before I give my pick, do you have any insight on the game?
I mean, I wanted the Lions to be there, but it's gonna be a good one. I mean, the Chiefs weren't playing good all season. They came back, made it to the Super Bowl. San Francisco's got the dream team. It's gonna be a good game. It's just there's other teams that I'd rather have seen there.
Okay, so when I look at the Super Bowl, now I have not had a good year gambling. So if we say that like whatever the Rangers do, they screw it up. Lately with my football picks, it's been the same. I have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid getting points in a game, and I understand Brock Purdy's been good, but this is now the biggest stage there is.
Yeah.
I have Kyle Shanahan, who's yet to win the Super Bowl. Andy Reid's done it twice. Andy Reid's also been there a bunch of other times as well, even with Philadelphia. So if it's me and I can get Patrick Mahomes and company, forget Taylor Swift. I don't care about Taylor Swift. But if I can get them getting points, I'm taking Kansas City +2.
Yeah, but +2 isn't. I mean, unless there's a safety involved, it's not really. It's a pick 'em. It's a still.
But even at a pick 'em,
you're not really getting points.
If I wanted to give you a knock on San Francisco, is the part of my pick.
No one's gonna win by 1 point.
Most likely not. So we know what your guess is not going to be.
In the 2 points.
By the way, you're not eligible to win the gift card.
Oh, thanks.
Because you're an undefeated employee. I'm just making sure you know that.
Damn it.
I know you were doing your studying. Here's my knock with San Francisco. They got lucky to beat Green Bay at home, and I still don't think Green Bay is that good. Dan Campbell, you could argue, cost Detroit the game. So they could have lost 2 weeks in a row at home. You have Kansas City, who had a much harder road. They had to go into Buffalo, win there. They had to go into the number 1 seed and win there. They're way more experienced, and they're getting points. I'm taking Kansas City +2.
That's fine. I'm just saying the points are really irrelevant in this case.
It is.
And I'll even side with you that, like, didn't Brock Purdy get hurt like 1 minute into the Super Bowl last year or 2 years ago or something?
Brock Purdy?
Yeah.
This is his first Super Bowl.
Or was the AC championship?
He got hurt in NFC Championship last year, I believe, in Philly.
Yeah, he got hurt in like the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, but that I don't know if he's going to get hurt again.
No. I'm just saying, like, this is his first Super Bowl.
Yeah, this is it.
Last year he could have, they had a great team and he got hurt in the first 5 minutes of the NFC Championship, didn't make the Super Bowl. This is his first Super Bowl.
Right. And
how
for
are
Patrick
Mahomes, are you going to choke?
And I'm supposed to believe in taking that over people that have been there
multiple times
and have won it twice. Like, and have had not arguably, they've had a harder path to even get here today in the playoffs so far, and they're here. And if you believe
it was the Lions.
What?
I wish it was the Lions. Man.
I wish it was the Lions too. But if it's me, I'm taking the Chiefs +2.
Yeah. So you're gonna take the +2. You wouldn't go money line on this?
I don't know what I would do, but we do.
Money.
But we do the picks here based on points. So I'm just being consistent.
Yeah, I get it.
I probably won't even bet on it. Wow. I'll end up saying to my kids, here's what I'll end up doing. I'll say to my kids Sunday morning, guys, what color do you think the Gatorade will be? And we'll do something like that, which is not smart. which is might as well just throwing money. I might as well donate it to a charity. At least it goes somewhere.
I think it's gonna be blue.
Okay, good. We'll see if my kids agree with you. I think it's usually orange or red, right?
I don't know.
What do you think it? By the
If
way,
they were smart, they would do orange.
not to like get in trouble by saying this, because I'm not
Mhm.
promoting doing illegal things, because this probably would
Yeah.
be illegal.
What?
Somebody
Going with food coloring? And
no.
spiking
Somebody
the boy?
knows.
Yeah.
Somebody is physically pouring Gatorade in that thing,
Yeah.
right? So there is a human being out there right
Oh, yeah,
now
who has the
that knows the
information.
answer that I wish I knew, because you
Huh.
would be like, hey, dude or dudette,
Yeah.
can you text me and tell me what color Gatorade you're putting into
Yeah.
it, right?
Mhm.
And you would have the inside information.
True.
Like, I've always thought that it was so shady, this stuff, but yet you never know, like, no one ever gives out that info.
Well, maybe there's multiple flavors, and you don't know which one the lineman's gonna pick up.
That's fair. Maybe there's a couple behind the thing, but even someone there would know.
Yeah, but it could be a
Who's
choice
doing
of
the
3
national
flavors.
anthem?
I don't know. Taylor Swift.
Definitely not. No, God, can you imagine? Because that's another bet always that's popular, is like the over-under, where like they study the singer and they say, oh, he holds his notes for really long, so
Yeah, how
you
long?
bet the over. Did you see the video of last year of whoever it was? There's a video of a bunch of guys in a bar, and they had money. I think it was 2 minutes and 7 seconds, like was the over-under, and it was like, I'm gonna bet the over, and they're sitting there cheering to like hold the notes, and they ended up losing. It's actually a really good video. Anyway, the Rangers tomorrow night, home at the Garden versus Tampa. They are at Chicago on Friday, return home to the Garden on Monday night. We should be back on Tuesday. We thank the Bamboozle Project, as always, for their sponsorship. You can check them out, thebamboozleproject.com. Use promo code MYPB. Reba McEntire is doing the anthem. Thank you for writing that in on Instagram, Brent. I appreciate that. We thank DraftKings as always, and we will talk to you all next week.